Hello, I'm Sandy Potter.
I'm Michael L., and welcome to Ageless Living. We're happy to join you once again from our home studios as we continue to stay home and stay safe.
Michael, it's hard to believe that it's already July. It's the season of barbecues and family events that we all look forward to. And along with that often comes a lot of food.
That's right. So we thought it would be helpful to get some expert advice on making healthy eating choices this summer.
Yes, I sat down this week with Masonicare Clinical Dietitian Mary to get some tips. Let's take a look at our virtual discussion. Mary, thank you so much for joining us. Food is definitely a key component to the summertime as we all get together with family and friends for barbecues and events. So we thought it was the perfect time to check in with you for some tips and advice about healthy eating habits.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I do have a bunch of tips to share with you guys today about healthy eating and even some recipes, which I know a lot of people enjoy. So I figured I would start with just going over different food groups and explaining, what actually are the healthier foods to consume. So that, I know there's a lot of confusion about what should I be eating, and so I have some basic tips for everybody.
Great.
So the first group I'll go over is grains. So we want to make most of our grains whole grains, which means, switching to a whole grain bread or a whole wheat bread and introducing things like quinoa, oat, barley. Those are some really great whole grains that actually have some protein and some fiber, which will really help, your overall health. Fiber reduces cholesterol and it helps you be more regular. Really, fiber is key. Next, speaking of fiber, we'll talk about fruits and vegetables. So filling half of your plate with vegetables is a great place to start. You can't really go wrong with whatever vegetable or fruit you choose. I will say that consuming a variety of different colors and different types will give you a wider range of vitamins and minerals. So getting a variety in is key. You really won't miss anything if you try a bunch of different types. For fats, monounsaturated fats are the ones that are the healthiest for our heart and for our brain function. You can find those in things like olive oil, fish, nuts, seeds. And then talking about dairy, that's a fat source as well. We want to switch to a skim or 1% if we can. Just because as we get older, we don't need that whole milk anymore. We'll still get the vitamin D and calcium and everything from skim or 1%. And if you like yogurt, Greek yogurt is the way to go because there's some extra protein in there and usually less added sugar. Next, we'll talk about sodium intake. So sodium is, found in a lot of foods that can last on the shelf forever. So like canned soup, canned vegetables even. Just read the label and be careful that you're not buying a product that's, I'd say over 600 milligrams of sodium is considered super high. So be mindful of that. And sometimes our processed meats and cheeses have that as well. So especially if you have a history of heart issues, try and keep that sodium down a little bit. Next, we'll talk about sweets and sweetened beverages. So I love cake and cookies just as much, if not more, than the next person. But of course, these should only be consumed in moderation, which we'll talk about moderation a little bit later. So don't, restrict yourself, but it is important to be mindful of how often we're having these types of foods. Next is proteins. So the lean proteins are most beneficial, have a little bit less saturated fat. We're talking about like chicken, turkey, and fish for meat to have, they're considered lean. And then there's a lot of meatless options, eggs, beans, nuts, and seeds. Like edamame, if you've never tried that, those are soybeans, and they're super packed with protein. That's a great something to introduce because we're trying to push having meatless meals every so often now. It's a little healthier on your heart. And then lastly, just drinking plenty of water and exercise. So I don't think a lot of us drink enough water. It's something to remind ourselves of on the daily, whether it's keeping a water bottle with you, or I know people who even set timers to remind themselves to drink water. And exercise, so finding something that you enjoy, that's sustainable, and just kind of gets your body moving every day, or every other day if that's where you're starting. So that's super important.
Perfect. Wow, that's great reminders and wonderful information. But, I was curious, we've all heard that saying that it's all about eating in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true?
Yes, so that's definitely something that I like to teach my clients is to eat in moderation, because, when you restrict yourself and go on these really strict diets, it doesn't end up being sustainable, and it's not something that you can do forever. So I get a lot of questions about dieting and if there's a certain way to eat that's most effective, like 6 small meals a day, 3 large meals, should I eat at night? All these different questions. And the answer is really individual. So when I meet with a client, I find out, what's your work schedule like? What is your day-to-day like? Is this feasible for you? Sometimes your body will respond differently than somebody else's. So really it's about finding what works for you and making sure you're not restricting yourself too much. Because when we do that, for example, if you love chocolate and you restrict yourself from chocolate, you might totally binge on it and overeat it at a later time. Where I would rather have you introduce chocolate every so often and you get to enjoy it and you get to move on and not feel any of that guilt. So moderation is definitely key.
That makes a lot of sense. Another thing we were discussing earlier is there are ways you can plan your recipes differently so that they're a little more healthy for you, but also still taste really great, right?
Yes. That's one of my favorite things to do is take a recipe and make it something totally different. And so I've shared some with you guys today that's available to everybody, especially for summer. I feel like we get stuck on barbecue hamburgers and hot dogs, which are amazing. There's some other ways to incorporate those food groups like I just talked about. So without sacrificing flavor, definitely play around with the spices and seasonings. You can really take a dish that's bland and add, pepper, cayenne, all like garlic powder, onion powder, and make it a lot tastier. And, you can kind of get away from adding a lot of salt and butter. There's other seasonings that are healthier for you that you can add. I also want to talk about utilizing the grill, because grilling is a really healthy way to cook your food. And you could add veggies to that, any of the meats or fishes with the seasoning. One of my favorites is grilling corn on the cob, and you can season it with some black pepper, cayenne, and lime juice. And it's really delicious, and you're not really adding anything unhealthy, And then also adding side dishes to a barbecue that contain a lot of fruits and vegetables. So we have our hot dogs and hamburgers, but usually there's not much goes with that. So I've included some side recipes. I have an avocado and corn salsa you can top your chicken with, have it as a side dish. Adding fruits and veggies to our meat, like chicken and mango skewers. I love a good skewer in the summer on the grill. Salads you can get really creative with, add some fruit to them. And then the really great bruschetta recipe, we use fresh strawberries and fresh basil, which is a really big summer thing as well. So I included all these recipes for everybody to see. I think it will inspire people to kind of take their summer foods and add a lot more fruits and vegetables and vibrance, and kind of recreate their barbecue meal.
Yeah, thank you so much. They sound delicious, and we're going to make those all accessible here where people can just click on and be able to print those and look at those. So I can't wait. They sound amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for all of this information. We're definitely going to keep it in mind as we head into our summer celebrations. And we wish you a very happy holiday weekend.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
And now, let's take a look at what's happening around Sonicare.
Last week, we celebrated CNA Appreciation Week, and all of us at Masonicare are so grateful for the hard work of our certified nursing assistants. To all of the incredible CNAs working across our continuum, we thank you for all you do. Exciting things are on the horizon. Our corporate marketing team has been busy filming new TV commercials to highlight our communities, so be sure to keep an eye out for Masonicare as you watch TV over the next few months. Check out some of these behind-the-scenes sneak peeks from the production team.
Thank you so much for joining us for another virtual edition of Ageless Living.
We look forward to bringing you more stories about living well as we take this journey together.
And until next time, stay well and remember, be ageless.